Yeah. Okay, now I switch to English, which is a bit different, but we shall see. So thank you again for the invitation and for being here and presenting. I will talk a bit about, we heard now that the law is there, we heard what is happening here in Argentina, and I will speak a bit about, as Marnix already said, the position of the German enterprises that also have to comply with this regulation and their position, and what is the process of adaptation that they are facing right now and at which level they are. So I hope that I can give you some insights, what is happening right now in Germany, so you can also, for further dialogue, you kind of have this image ahead of you where they are and where they stand right now today. I will speak a bit first, in a theoretical framework. I will give you a bit why I'm here and for which project I represent, because also to see a bit what the German government is doing here a bit in this sense. Then I will speak about the different, what is actually happening, what are actions are the enterprises taking, and then of course the next steps, what should happen, what needs to happen, what dialogue, which are the open questions that need to be discussed, also especially with the importers that you have and how which dialogue needs to take place. I come from an organization which is called the Global Nature Fund. It's an international foundation for protection of the environment. We have three say this, yeah, now I'm thinking about the Spanish word. We have 3 offices in Germany, and we also work in areas of nature conservation, also with some projects here in Argentina, but, and in general, but I represent an entity that works with companies and biodiversity. So we basically speak to companies about their importance of biodiversity within their businesses, how they need to take care of it, how it can be integrated into their strategy, what needs to happen. And in this course also, of course, the supply chain is a very essential part. We have projects within Germany where we talk about the premises of the companies within Germany, or national projects where companies are supporting biodiversity within Germany, but also the supply chain takes a really important role here, and therefore also the project that I will now that I'm here representing is a very important project where we talk about the supply chains, deforestation-free supply chains. So this is a project that has started in 2021 together with Verde and the Global Nature Fund, and is funded by the German Ministry of Economy and Nature Protection. And it has started actually before this law. It was a bit about informing about the importance of deforestation-free supply chains for biodiversity. It was to motivate companies to change their, or be aware of their supply chains and see about topics of deforestation within their supply chains. And it was also in relation to debate this new law. Now the new law has passed and it is there, so now we're seeing a lot more interest in our project, or we get a lot of calls and have many discussions, which I will talk about now on the topic. The general output of this project and what we are working on is a platform which summarizes all of the information on this law, which you see, if you hear it, it's very, the way it is written, it is a bit sometimes difficult to understand for them what their responsibilities are and what they now actually have to do. And it's especially directed at small and medium enterprises, because often they are just, let's say, it really hits companies that have 1 to 5 people working. Not everybody is an expert on their supply chain, and now they have to fulfill new regulations and new data that they will need. So they are all a bit looking for information, so that should be provided on this platform where we summarize it a bit in easier words for them and summarize a bit more practical steps on what needs to be done to have deforestation eradicated from their supply chain. We just launched the beta version of it. It is unfortunately only in German, because that is especially what the platform is there for, because many of the small enterprises, people also do not speak English, so it's good to also have a platform that is specifically in German in this case. But translation is still a topic for the future, because there is a lot of interest and a lot of necessity to also look at this. It offers information on basic things such as definition, what is deforestation, what is forest, what is the strategy that you can have, how does deforestation, what effects does it have for the protection, climate protection, what are the effects it has, what are the different commodities, where are the different risks for these commodities. It talks about certifications, multi-stakeholder initiatives, and also about the reporting that is required. So it always has this new law in mind, or speaks about what the law requires, but also in general it speaks about the strategies and the steps within the company. And it's not, as said, it's not, we didn't reinvent material. A lot of material is there. I mean, we all know it nowadays. Often the internet is very full of information. To really pick the one that is useful in the end is a difficult task, or what is actually credible information. So we're based mainly in the Accountability Framework Initiative and the OECD FAO Handbook on deforestation-free supply chains. Very basic, maybe the how the website follows, which step, what it recommends to enterprises. This is really just the theoretical basis. I know that implementing this in the end is another story, and we'll get to that in a moment, but in a sense, it kind of recommends that first a company looks at their status quo, looks where they are, what are the actual risk commodities that they are importing, and what they actually know about their supply chain, because this is really very different coming to enterprises. We've seen it a change, right? It is a major change for them. Some of them really do not know right now where their goods are coming from. So they have to first develop, in a sense, we get them through, they have to develop a strategy, have to define within the companies a focal point that really can talk about this within the structure of the company, talking through from marketing, from the procurement, so that really everybody within the company is involved in this topic. Then, as a second point, the risk analysis that they actually need to do. So this is the actual step. They need to identify the risks, look at their supply chains in detail, and take what corrective measures they can take. And then as a third point, they have to look actually how to report and how to present this. This again, maybe it's just a repetition of what Richard has already said. It's just to remind also from the perspective of the companies, again to repeat, I had to think everybody needed to repeat this when the new law has come out, that they really, what are the actual steps, what does the company need to do? So one, again, just to repeat, they need to recompile information about their commodities that are affected. They need to, and they need to show that these are deforestation-free and do not come from areas that were degraded or deforested after the 31st of December 2020. So this is really about the data, having the data, the quantities, and having these proof documents. They have to realize their due diligence and evaluate the risk that actually that is related to their supply chain. So this is a process that really every importer company and every related company in the European Union needs to do. So this is a process that each company individually needs to define their due diligence process. And then they need to adopt adequate measures to mitigate the risks. This can be done by different tools such as satellite imagery, audits at site, and also speaking with the suppliers and talking with them about it. And yeah, just to say again also that the control of this and the process, these requirements are for the importers in the European Union. So they're the ones that will be checked by the competent authorities. But of course, we are here today, and they need this information actually from their suppliers. So this is why we're here, and this is what we need to also see and how they can get this. So this is not something that they can do on their own. Well, this is a bit of an image that we had in an event the other day where I was in Germany, that they were actually it's a psychological model, the house of change, that to see a bit where the German enterprises are right now in the compliance with this law and which steps they are taking right now. So the model kind of says that you have this house of change, it's a process of change that we are seeing for this law. It really leads to a change in the supply chain structure that we are seeing. So here, the house, you cannot go from one room to the other without facing through one. So first you're satisfied, you're in your first room, so to say. Then when you get this change, this law, this regulation is coming, there's the anger and the rejection, let's say. Then there's the phase of confusion, and then comes the phase of reinvention and seeing new procedures. So most of the German companies put themselves somewhere between the confusion and the renovation. So they have the information, they're there, but they need to now renovate and actually change the procedures within their companies. And I think this is where dialogue is extremely important, to really have this conversation and really renovate and get to a new satisfying relationship that can be for the better, I think. Yeah, this is just really basic steps. I mean, that's what they are doing right now, really, and we're still at this basis. I think that's important to note, that they are still in this step right now, that they're still informing themselves about their obligations. They're still talking, hopefully, that they are taking contact and talking to their suppliers, that they're working together in multi-stakeholder initiatives and their different associations, depending on their commodity, and that they're starting to collect the data required. To get some special attention, especially what has been happening and what I think is common in different countries, or that the associations here are taking a very essential role, that depending on the commodity and the respective commodity, you really have the different associations that are really informing their members, that are talking to them, that are trying to find different solutions. And we're seeing that for the different commodities, there is a large change, because it really depends on the supply chain that they have. We've been hearing it before. Of course, there's a difference in every supply chain, different risks, different different desafíos, different challenges, thank you. Different challenges that they have, depending if you're working more, the caoutchouc supply chain works with 85% smallholders, that's where the caoutchouc comes from. So it's a different challenge that they are facing there in this case. And we've heard it before with the beef, ganado, that you also actually have to show it from the area of the different grazing periods and where it was born. So these are all very different challenges, and depending also on each country, I think, what different associations they are and what kind of power relation they have and how they are working together with their members really is making a difference to what solution they are coming up with and where are you seeing the solutions that they are taking forward. In general, now maybe to some challenges that there still are there that we are seeing. First of all, some more general challenges. It's still, as we are saying, that it's still in the process of being applied, so there's still some different there's still unclear information on some points. If it's about certifications, how they can use them in general. I mean, the law is relatively clear that certifications do not give a clear, a green lane, but of course they are a useful tool for companies to manage their supply chains, but still how they can use them and how they will be respected. And there in general, how the competent authority in each company will judge the different procedures and the different due diligence procedures of the companies is still an open question. So they are still waiting for some clarification documents from the competent authority. And yeah, in general, am I forgetting something? No. So in general, some positions and some phrases and some things still need to be clarified. So there's still a process. I think that's the main message. In general, another main message, I think, and that's where I think this dialogue is really helpful, and we have heard a lot about today already, is data. As data and how to communicate this data, which data is there, which data do they need, and how does it come from one actor in the supply chain to the next. So I think here there are very elaborated systems already. We heard it already that there is a lot of public data available, that it is there, but in general, who does need this information for this law is the importer in Germany. So that it needs to be seen how this data is transformed, with what level of data privacy in this case is really essential, how competition affects the different giving data to the next actor in the supply chain still is a really big topic, let's say. Yeah, I think, and here there, especially the dialogue in this case, and I really also motivate to exchange with the importers here on the data that is available and see, and they need to tell you what they need. So I think there the dialogue is really, they need it and they need to set up their system, so they will need certain data which needs to have a certain format. So I think there having this exchange is very essential right now to define this, to also have useful data in the future, to really have a common ground, set the data straight, that is really, that it can be useful for all sides, and find a common system that can be useful. This law is there and the interest is there they need to have the interest in the origin of the supply chain, so they will need this data, require it, and they need it in a certain format. So really the dialogue to have it useful for both sides is really essential right now. And we've heard before that we really need to take care that also the smaller producers are really not left out in this chapter, and as Richard has said, there are measures that are being taken by the European Union for this, and I think also we are hoping for a stronger regulation in the future that will also require this from the enterprises themselves, that they also continue to support their smaller suppliers. And I think with this data, you see also the requirements. It is a deeper change that we are seeing with new inversiones, investments. Thank you. No, really, investments in the supply chains that are necessary. That also need a certain type of different data management and also different type of agroempresarios, no? Yes. And maybe also to give a bit the outline and the strategic alignment to finish off with that this is one of the laws that requires now a traceability of the supply chain. And this is an essential step for a responsible supply chain and for an accountability that is being asked for by the to the European enterprises, that they really need to be accountable for what is happening in the origin of their supply chain. So this traceability and having the geo-coordinates is an essential first step, but it's not the end, let's say. It's the first step to have this new traceability, and I think there really the law is a game changer, because we have this new traceability for these commodities, and now then follow various legislations that are related to the Corporate Social Reporting Directive, for instance, which now also requires sustainability data from the companies, also about their supply chain. So this traceability is the first step, and then now they need to also provide more information. So the communication, the requirements, and the exchange of information there will really be a game changer, I think. So I think having the talk and talking about this data, making it useful, really also, if they have to be accountable for what is happening, so they also, this brings certain responsibilities for the company. So if you give them the data, then they're responsible, and they are the ones that will also be responsible for the law. So I think this is a really useful dialogue that can happen, and that they, a useful dialogue that can happen. That's why we're here, and thank you very much again for your attention, and I'm looking forward to exchanging further. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Lea. Sí. Bueno, ahora a continuación invitamos a Patricia Berguero, de BISEC.